Well, thank you all for being here this morning for this briefing. I particularly want to thank Director Michelle for leading our response while we were working to protect the people of Mississippi. I appreciate the hard work of the men and women here at MEMA who have had very busy start to the year. After 2019, when Mississippi was hit with everything from tornadoes and damaging winds to tropical storms and flooding, they executed timely responses and quickly worked to restore the quality of life for their fellow Mississippians. And I personally want to thank them and all of these agencies represented behind me in state government, as well as everyone who is working throughout this facility. Those of you who have been here before know there are an awful lot of people that are working throughout this facility and throughout the state, and they're doing a fantastic job, and I want to thank them. I've got some remarks to make a little bit later, but I'm going to, at this point, turn it over to Director Michelle, who is leading the charge with respect to this at this time. Thanks.
Thank you, Governor. The staff has just completed briefing Governor Reeves on this current situation that we got here in Mississippi, particularly in the Jackson metro area. I just want to first start by thanking partners that are here behind me, General Boyles with the National Guard, Willie Huff is with the Mississippi Department of Transportation, Colonel Chris Gillard with the Mississippi Highway Patrol, Ryan Blakely with the Insurance Commission, and then all my other partners that have been a part of this planning process. We have been watching and planning for this event for weeks and anticipating the Pearl River rising to the level that we're projecting it to be sometime later tonight and tomorrow. This is going to affect a lot of people. It is certainly something that you should not take for granted. We have done try to do a really good job of educating the public about what the water is going to do, where it's going to go. I've had extensive communications with the folks in Hinds County, Rankin County, Madison County, a lot of conversations and meeting with Mayor Lumumba in the city of Jackson in preparation for this. It is extremely important that everybody maintain a situational awareness, pay attention to your emergency weather alerts, use the tools that have been pushed out to you to look at where the flood inundations are going to be, and just continue to stay focused as we move forward. As the governor will discuss here in just a little bit, we're going to talk about when these effects are expected to happen. And you, again, do not wait till the water gets in your house to evacuate. Do not wait until water envelops your home or blocks a road so that you cannot get out. When you take risk like this, it puts first responders and emergency responders in additional risk to come in and get you out of a home after it's been flooded. So please pay attention to where we're at. Just know that the governor and all of the state agencies partners are prepared to extend any resource necessary to respond to this event. At this time, I'm going to turn the podium back over to Governor Reeves.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Michelle. And I want to reiterate something that he said. We have been working diligently not only with the state agencies that are behind me, but also the Hinds and the Rankin EOC, as well as the mayor and his team with the city of Jackson. But I want to be clear, this is a historic event. It's unprecedented in the last 35 years. We haven't seen flood levels like this in the area since 1983. And so for those of you who are familiar with the history, we had 1979, we had 1983, and if we reach the flood levels of 38 feet, as is continuing to be projected, this will be the third worst flooding of the Pearl River and the surrounding communities in Hinds and Rankin counties literally in the last 35 plus years. And because of that, I can't stress to you enough how important the next 24 to 48 hours is for the individuals who are going to be affected. We have obviously been working closely with the director and MEMA and our partners. Just right before this briefing, I received a daily briefing to discuss the current situation as it stands and our plan of action to protect those living in the affected areas. Today's projections are showing the potential as I mentioned, of this being the third worst flood in our history, and therefore, earlier today I did sign a state of emergency to deploy the necessary resources to take care of all Mississippians that are impacted. Now let's talk a little bit about what that impact may look like. We believe at this point that the Pearl River is expected to crest at 38 feet. We expect that to occur sometime after dark tonight and probably into the middle of the night is when it is expected to do. So if you look out at 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon and the sun is shining brightly and you don't currently have water in your house, that doesn't mean that it's not coming. And so if you have been alerted to the potential for water, which by the way, all of these are estimates, and therefore we can't tell you with certainty every structure that is going to be affected, but please be paying attention, because we would expect this crest to occur sometime between 6 p.m. and midnight tonight. As I have said before, and as the press has been alerted to, we currently believe there are more than 2,400 structures that could be impacted by the flooding. Of those, approximately 1,925 of them are in Hinds County, 461 structures are in Rankin County, and approximately 30 structures in Madison County could be affected if, in fact, we do peak at 38 feet. There is a citywide boil water notice for the city of Jackson, and there are evacuation orders in place for parts of northeast Jackson and Ridgeland. Again, please heed these orders. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Get out while you can. Do not return until officials have determined that it is safe. Again, as Director Michelle has said, we have every intention of having search and rescue teams in place. But if you do not get out and we have to send search and rescue teams for you, that is us putting our emergency personnel in harm's way. And we don't want to do that unless it's absolutely necessary. And so if you have been alerted, please, please get out before dark tonight. Our plan of action includes over 96,000 sandbags have already been delivered to Hinds County. We have evacuation assets, we have boat teams, and we have high water vehicles on standby for an immediate response to get people to safety if necessary. Hinds County currently has 4 high water rescue vehicles ready to be deployed. And the city of Jackson will have JTRAN lined up at Lowe's parking lot on Old Canton Road to help people. I also want you to know that we are currently concerned about some major roadways. Major points of concern right now are I-55 North, around Daniel Lake Boulevard, as well as around Elton Road. It is possible that the Mississippi Department of Transportation will have to close frontage roads. It is possible that they may have to close lanes on the interstate moving north. Those decisions have not yet been made, but it is a situation in which they are monitoring. But we may also see other highways that it may experience either lane closures or potentially we may even see highways having to be closed because of the water levels. We are working with the Mississippi Highway Patrol and the Mississippi Department of Transportation to monitor that situation and to prepare a plan for a quick response should this flood impact major roadways. I would tell everyone to be extremely careful. If you see standing water, do not walk or drive through it. Turn around. Don't drown. While we did enjoy a day of sunshine yesterday, and when I came into this building and the sun was shining earlier today, I urge you to not get a false sense of hope. We are not out of the woods yet. There is still a lot of water that is going to be coming, and we also know that we're looking for significant additional rainfall tomorrow and Monday at a minimum with additional rainfall later in the week possible. So we want to let you know that we are monitoring the weather reports very closely. We did get a briefing from the National Weather Service earlier this morning. They are working very, very hard and are a very strong partner in this. The other thing that I will tell you is that we have brought in, as is illustrated by those behind me, everyone to assist, coordinating with MEMA, Mississippi Highway Patrol, Mississippi Department of Transportation. We are also working with our partners at the National Guard, Homeland Security, the Corps of Engineers, MDEQ, the American Red Cross, and our local emergency operations centers. The National Guard and Highway Patrol officers are on standby and ready to be deployed if and when necessary for an immediate response. The American Red Cross has already jumped into action and has resources for those who have been and will be impacted. Together, working with the State Department of Emergency Management, they have already opened shelters at the Jackson Police Training Center, as well as having opened a shelter in Starkville at the First Baptist Church Outreach Center. So 2 shelters are currently open. We will monitor the situation. We do have alternate shelters that could be open if necessary. We don't anticipate that at this time. However, we are prepared if that becomes necessary. The Red Cross also has an app that you can download with National Weather Service alerts, shelter information, and more. I will tell you that the Red Cross is asking for volunteers to help support relief efforts. So if you are able, please reach out to the Red Cross through their website, redcross.org. I encourage everyone in central Mississippi and beyond to prepare. Stay informed by following MEMA on social media and by tuning into your local news. Have a plan to protect yourself and have a plan to protect your loved ones. Again, I want to thank everyone here at the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency and throughout central Mississippi who are working around the clock to protect their fellow Mississippians. These men and women have a lot of experience handling disasters like this, and I know with the talent that is behind me and the talent in this building and the talent throughout our state, Mississippi could not be in better hands. So at this time, I'm going to open the floor to any questions that you may have.
Officials out at the reservoir said they're going to try to hold as much water as they can. Do you all know when they may have to release more water?
Well, they are currently releasing water at a rate that is similar to what they have been doing over the last several days. We have taken into account the projections of not only what they are releasing today, but also what we anticipate that they'll need to release in the coming days to deal with what could be as much as 1.5 to 3 inches of rain over the next 48 to 72 hours. And so the projected peak of 38 feet includes projections of what the reservoir will have to empty or release in the coming days. And so at this point, that's what we anticipate. Again, the situation is being updated hourly, literally, but at this point, the projections are that the 38 feet that we are currently projecting is an accurate number given what we anticipate the reservoir to release in the coming hours and weeks, hours and days.
You mentioned this is going to impact 2,400 homes or structures. Do you know how many families that might impact or people that might impact in the state?
Well, I think there are literally thousands of people that it's going to impact. In terms of, I don't have the specifics on how many of those are commercial versus residential. I don't know if Director Michelle does or not, but
In Hinds County, with respect to that, those structures also include a number of roads. So in Hinds County, to give you some idea on that, there's about 1,058 homes, 164 roads that would be affected at the 38 feet. Rankin and Madison County, respectively, are going to be somewhat less than that because they're not going to be inundated as much.
so with it being over 1,000 homes, you're talking multiple thousands of people directly impacted in terms of their homes, but literally tens of thousands of people affected with roadways being shut down and other things. So.
And Greg, that
10,058 figure includes homes both flooded and just cut off,
Right, and as we talked about the other day, flooded and or affected. So it's hard to determine exactly flooded or affected. When we say affected, they're either going to be that means the home's either going to be flooded or they're going to be cut off from having access to their home. So either way, they would fall into that evacuation criteria.
In some neighborhoods, some people are just evacuating today. Can you just talk about the importance of people who they're going to sightsee in some of these neighborhoods and they shouldn't be doing that?
No, the sightseeing is not recommended. The fact of the matter is we need to keep the roadways as open as possible so that those who are doing the right thing and are evacuating can do so in a peaceful and orderly manner, that they can do so as quickly as is possible. Again, the challenge that we have over the next 12 hours or so is that we expect the water to rise fairly quickly from here, but we think the worst of it is going to happen after nightfall later this afternoon. And so that's one of the things, as you saw the sun shine yesterday for what seemed like the first time in forever, and then the sun shining today, it tends to give people a false sense of hope. I am here to tell you today that if our state and local law enforcement teams have knocked on your door and said you are likely to be in harm's way, that is still the case. Regardless of how good the weather is today, if we have alerted you, if you have looked on the interactive map that has been offered on so many websites and by so many of you in the news media, and thank you for what you're doing to get that information out. But if it appears on that interactive map that you are living in an area that is going to be affected, it is highly likely that sometime, if you haven't already been affected, that highly likely that sometime after 5 or 6 o'clock tonight that you will be affected. And so be prepared for that. It's harder to deal with, obviously, when it's dark outside. So I encourage people to start, if you haven't already, start evacuating sometime during the daylight hours over the next 8 to 10 hours.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll keep you updated whenever another briefing is.
Thank you all.